Hey, it's Elizabeth. So for today, we thought we would talk about, the biggest issue for every marketer, right? Um, proving marketing ROI, right? Sometimes it's hard to do. And right now, with new year comes new marketing budget, right? And you want to prove that your marketing efforts are actually worth, funding. What do you do? Or maybe even increasing that would be even better, right? So a few tips and tricks we've learned along the way. One of my favorites is to work with the sales team or the director of sales, somebody from sales, to figure out your average deal size. So why though, right? Why is this important? Why does it matter? If you know your average deal size, then you can equate dollars to leads, right? And then you can figure out cost per lead, things like that. But more importantly, if you've got your life cycle stages clearly defined, good handoff process from marketing to sales, and you know how many MQLs you're passing over to sales as to, further qualify, you can at least say, hey, we passed 10 MQLs over to sales. Our average deal size is $10,000. That's $100,000. Let's say it's from one campaign, and you know that because you've tracked it all in HubSpot. You have the form on the landing page. You can track the form submissions. You know where it's from. So that's one idea, right? And this isn't to, poke at our sales teams or anything like that. It's literally just to identify how many leads and the dollar value, because that's the biggest impact, right? Because if you got 10 form submissions, that's not impressive, right? Whoop-de-doo. What does that mean? What does that equate to in dollars? And if you have the average deal size and you let your C-suite know, hey, this is based on average deal size. This is how much potential we have going over to the sales team from inbound leads, from different marketing campaigns, marketing initiatives, etc. Then they'll go, oh, okay. And then it'll reframe how they think about marketing and giving money or increasing your budget, right? Because now you've got a dollar amount tied to those marketing initiatives. Another trick that would be to put this into HubSpot and then have an average deal size on all new deals, right? But then you can also create dashboards, send reports, things like that, because you can, auto send those reports out, which is fantastic from HubSpot. But if you don't already have life cycle stages clearly defined, it's kind of a weird thing to figure out, right? That's one important thing to do, because then everybody knows at what point a lead gets passed over to sales. And that's where marketing stops and sales begins, right? Is as soon as that lead has changed hands, so to speak. And then you can start to identify the reason why deals aren't closing, right? It could be that your target market's off, right? So not only is it going to show how much potential you have in the sales pipeline, it will over time also inform you on whether or not you're attracting the right type of people, right? And another way to do that is to kind of backtrack into it, use lead scoring in HubSpot. I'm a huge fan of lead scoring, and that's like a whole podcast in and of itself. But one way I like to go about lead scoring is to find your ICP, your ideal customer profile, right? Because you want to attract more people like that. And the idea here isn't to go, you know what, I really like working with Susie a lot. People will be different, right? And just because, let's say you work really well with SaaS platforms, it might mean that you get a difficult client, like somebody is a difficult person at that company. But let's say your product, your service works really well with SaaS companies. Well, what can I do to attract more of those companies and then turn them over to sales to then close more deals, to then have a higher, customer satisfaction rate? All of this stuff can play a role in marketing and marketing ROI, right? Because if you're handing 10 leads over, and sure, it's great, it's $100,000, but if they're not fit, it kind of doesn't matter, right? So you want to emphasize quality over quantity. And by knowing your average deal size, that will help you with the quantity part, right? But you also want qualified leads. Just because, kind of like butts and seats doesn't make sense. You need someone that's actually has the potential to become a closed won deal and then a satisfied customer. So, one of those things. But back to the lead scoring scenario. In HubSpot, let me share my screen. They make it pretty easy to go in and do lead scoring. And I'm going to search for this so that you can see where it's at inside of HubSpot. There's manual lead scoring. Again, I am using our test portal, so all of this data in here is completely bogus and made up. And so right here under field type, you'll see there's positive points and negative points. This one you can see has just a few things in it. Industry is one of the best ones. You can do different types of industry. In fact, that's a default property inside of HubSpot. You can add different form submissions. So if there's one that you know is a high intent form, like the contact us form could be a good one. If it's request a quote or request a demo, that's even better. But then there's different forms for different reasons, right? If I'm a user and I visited your website and I just filled out a blog submission, like I want blog updates, that's a completely different stage in the buyer's journey than somebody who's requesting a quote or requesting a demo. So you can give more or less points according to the type of form submission. And then you can also do things like number of employees, job title. That's usually a pretty good one too. Things like that. You can also exclude different things. So for example, I used to work at a payroll and HR software company, right? Our platform couldn't do payroll outside of the United States, right? It just wasn't possible with our platform. So if we got a lead that was from Canada or Mexico or something like that, we gave them negative points. We actually had partners that in different areas of the world that we would pass those leads over to, right? But by that, I mean, I go, that's a fringe case. If you have areas or have things that you know you don't shine at, you can give negative points as well as positive points inside of HubSpot. And the best part about lead scoring is that you can get pretty nuanced, right? And then you can have different things happen based on different values. So let's say your max, like one of the high values is 21. And at 21 points, you want to make it an MQL and pass it over to sales. You could do that. You could put them in different nurture funnels too, to then further nurture that person along in the buyer's journey. You can tailor your marketing efforts to where they're at to hopefully push them down and push them over into a conversation with sales. So anyway, it's a long-winded answer on how to prove marketing ROI, but definitely by knowing your average deal size, that would be a huge win. The number of form submissions or inbound leads that you've gotten, even leads from other sources like trade shows, right? If somebody's come up and visited you in the booth and asked for more information, that's a higher intent than somebody's that just is on the attendee list, for example. Anytime there's somebody that's shown more interest than just like a blog or a newsletter or something like that. But the name of the game at the end of the day is, what does the C-suite care about? And basically that boils down to revenue, right? Profit. We want to know how much we're going to be making. And if you can tie that back and then show that marketing actually does impact the bottom line, that there is a way that you can, reasonably predict how much is coming through from a marketing pipeline over to sales, that'll be a big win. And it's also been my experience that when sales and marketing teams work together to figure that out, it just makes for a better process in the long run. Makes for a better sales and marketing relationship and handoff, because what will happen is the sales team, they may or may not be excited about inbound leads, right? Because they may or may not get quality ones, right? I've worked with a lot of sales teams that don't get excited about inbound leads, and I don't blame them, because a lot of them, sometimes they're a waste of time, right? They're not a good fit. But if you know these things, if you can figure out the life cycle stages, lead scoring, anything that's nuanced like that to help you further strengthen the leads, and then you have that coupled with that average deal size, and then you have some strong potential candidates in your pipeline, that's just going to be even better, because then the sales team is going to be really excited about working those inbound leads because they know they're high quality. They know that they're a potential great fit, because you've had that open dialogue, that open communication with them, and they've been part of the process. And really, the end of the day, you're trying to make it better for them, easier for them, if you will, to close the deal. Also something that's they depend on, right? They like you as the lead source. Then I think that that's invaluable ROI, to be honest. But first things first, start with average deal size. Grab those form submissions that mean something. You don't have to bother with things like blog or newsletter subscriptions, like I mentioned earlier, or even like, you know what, I've been on the website 10 times, but I haven't filled out a form. Don't worry about stuff like that. Focus on the metrics that matter. Those request a demo, request a quote. Contact us is a little bit wonky because sometimes you have to weed out, like, this person just wanted to contact you to see if they could blog for you for backlinks. Or, you know what I used to get a lot of? People that wanted to clean our office. It was the weirdest thing. They'd fill out contact forms. Anyway, use that MQL if you have it. If not, figure out how to get it, what that means for your company, for your process, and then use that definition, the value of your average deal, to then figure out a way to display it either in HubSpot as a report, or you can, do a different type of report if you needed to. HubSpot just makes it really easy. And then go from there. You could even make a calculation property if you wanted to. I bet you there's a way to do it. Anyway, hope this was helpful. Have fun. Don't sweat it. You've got this. And then here's to bigger marketing budgets in 2025.